Hi there. Several people have reached out to me to ask me my opinion about the different vaccines that are out on the market. And of course, people are seeing some conflicting information and they're just wondering what my take is on it. So what I'm about to provide in this video is my opinion based on my background in science. I have 5 college degrees in a scientific discipline and 8 years of work experience in the biotech industry, plus additional years teaching biotechnology. A scientist who currently plays the role of a naturopath. The information in this video is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prescribe for any disease or condition. In fact, why don't we just get ahead of the fact checkers and just say it's all fake, it's all a lie, this isn't real. So this is just a big joke. It's like Bizarro World. When it comes to making health choices, you should listen to the CDC, the WHO, and any 24-year-old reporter with a bachelor's degree in journalism. Okay, so let me talk to you a little bit about the science of vaccines and how they work in the body and how the immune system responds to them and why that could potentially be a problem. So vaccines, and I've done several other videos on vaccines. So if you want to get some more information on that, you can always go to youtube.com/naturallyunbridled and get some of my other videos on vaccines and things like that. So what a vaccine is it's an injection of some chemicals and a pathogen in general. The new vaccines that are on the market don't actually have a version of the pathogen in it. They have the genetic code for a protein that is in the pathogen. But that aside, it's not the main focus of this video. So besides the pathogenic part of the vaccine, there's also chemical adjuvants and preservatives. And the adjuvants are the things that always get my attention, because the adjuvants are irritants to the immune system. So the philosophy behind including adjuvants in vaccines is that when you include an irritant to the immune system with the pathogen at the same time, the body is supposed to mount an immune response against that pathogen because they kind of came in together. But what the adjuvants do is they create inflammation. An acute inflammation where you get increase in body temperature, circulation, redness, soreness, and the production of inflammatory chemicals by the body, including prostaglandins and cytokines. Now, these inflammatory molecules exist in the body whenever there's an inflammatory condition, and there's certain processes that happen in the body that can cause you to have higher levels of these inflammatory molecules in different areas at different times. So one concern that people have about the adjuvants being injected into a body that has some inflammation going on in other places is that you can think of the immune system responding to inflammation like rioters responding to a car fire. So when you see that kind of chaos and there's like all this chaos going on over here and there's this car fire and they're flipping cars over and they're like looting and burning and all this crazy stuff happens. And that's, you can think of that as the vaccine, like the adjuvant, like it creates chaos in the body. That's why you see people with these massive fevers and aches and pains and headaches and malaise because of the systemic inflammation that's happening. That's an expected response to that kind of assault on the immune system. But so we're focusing on like this car fire and this looting and this rioting that's all going on over here. But going on over here in the body was some natural inflammation as part of a process. And an example could be in the female reproductive tract on the ovaries, right? So at the end of a menstrual cycle, the body secretes prostaglandin to knock the corpus luteum off of the ovary so that the woman can go into menses. So you can think of the corpus luteum as a little scab on the ovary, and it's there to produce progesterone, and that's a whole other thing. But so there's like this little scab on the ovary, and the body goes, we got to pick that scab and then start a new cycle. So it sends in these prostaglandins to knock that scab off of the ovary. So you have a little bit of natural inflammation happening in the body as part of a normal, healthy process that the body goes through on a regular basis. But when you've got the car fire over here and you've got a little bit of a dumpster fire over here, the body, the immune system is in full on rage attack mode, and it starts to send the antibodies toward the tissues that are inflamed in that area. So this is how a vaccine could lead, theoretically, hypothetically, fact checkers have a fun time with all this, could lead to an autoimmune issue, because when you have that assault of systemic inflammation in the body and you already have an area that's inflamed, then you could develop an autoimmune disease against your own tissue that was naturally inflamed for some reason at the same time that you got that vaccine. So, you know, people get inflammation in joints, people get inflammation in the brain, people get inflammation in the intestines and different areas. So a thought that I had, and I do a lot of work as a naturopath with people seeking holistic fertility support. And it's very common for my fertility clients to have received this series of HPV or human papillomavirus vaccines. And so I would love for someone to do some research on the potential of those vaccines contributing to a lot of the infertility issues that we see today, including like total ovarian failure. Because the thought that I had was, you know, if you get this vaccine at the time where there's this natural inflammation going on in the body as the body is ridding itself of that corpus luteum, then you may develop antibodies against your own ovaries because they're slightly inflamed during that process. So that's just one of the reasons that I personally am not a huge proponent. Again, everyone should make their own informed and educated decisions about their own health. Those decisions should not be made for you by other people, but you should have access to all of the information. So I just wanted to bring you a little summary of how vaccines work in the body and how they could potentially lead to some other side effects down the road. So, you know, we're all hopeful that the situation that's going on now isn't going to lead to that. But in especially the United States, we have a population of people who are chronically inflamed due to high stress and poor diet. And when you have chronic systemic inflammation and you assault the body with more adjuvants, you get additional inflammation, and the confused body that starts mounting antibodies against the pathogen that was included in the vaccine can get confused and start making antibodies against other tissues, thyroid, joints, brain, ovaries, intestines, kidneys, pretty much any tissue that could be inflamed at that time. So that's just some hypothetical information for you to think about, evaluate. I would love to see some retrospective studies of when these girls received their vaccines and their where they were at in their menstrual cycle. I'm sure that information is really not available, but to see how many people seeking fertility support have had those vaccines. And then of course we always have to keep our eyes peeled for what might be coming in the future as we create this systemic inflammation in millions of people that we're seeing who are suffering with fever, aches and pains, headaches, malaise, and really incapacitation for a period of time after they receive those injections. So I'm Dr. Patty Barch. I'm a traditional naturopath, former scientist, and wellness professionals business coach. And I appreciate you taking a little time to learn a little bit about immunology today. Thanks. Peace out, peeps.